Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
me, Rob. Let's get some recapping going here because it's a long, good weekend to talk about.
Oh, we got games, and more games here. Plus, of course, we got to talk about the fact that there's still more Giants news going on here. I'd love to say there's not, because let's be honest, guys, it's not going to be good news as their 0-2 start for the 10th time in 12 years. 10th time in 12 years, guys. That's really bad. That's like, that record is almost a teenager at this point now. Like that's how many years we're encompassing. Like that's bad. That's part of why I keep saying to people, like, we have a very, very rich history at this franchise. We truly do, guys. But for the younger generation, the ones who grew up with this mess, it's not a very good history we got to them. Something's got to give. We got to turn this thing around here. So let's talk about the news here, because we do got to start here with the Giants news. First off, we can talk about the stare. The death stare. The death stare from Brian Daboll and asked about his job security. Oh, he did not take that very well. Look at that. Look at those eyes.
No.
That is like ridiculous.
It kind of looks like a mix between the genie from Aladdin and Mr. Clean.
Now, he was asked about if he thought his job was in jeopardy. Now, I will say this. I don't know 100% positive who asked the question, because a lot of times in the Giants media rooms there, they have mics on the coaches. They have nothing for the media members, so it's kind of hard to tell 100%. But what he said was, I've done this for a long time, Pat. My focus is on our football team. That makes me think it's Pat Leonard, of course, everybody's favorite Giants media guy, who I say that obviously very facetiously. He's definitely the most negative of all the media people. But at the same point, guys, I got to say, like, lately, and I don't, God forbid I'm the last one to stand up for him, but
you have to.
Maybe he's not wrong like this at this point. Like he's been right a lot more than people like to admit. Oh, we're not shopping Kadarius Toney. Everybody blasted. He's ridiculous. Guess what? They were shopping Kadarius Toney. So he said a lot of things negative about the team, but guys, the team's been very negative to talk about the last 12 years. We just talked about it. So, but I gotta think it's him. And guys, the death stare that Brian Daboll gave this man, like, absolutely freaking ridiculous. Like, you looked at him as if, like, he asked the most ridiculous goddamn question known to man, or you wanted to punch him in the face. Either reaction would be absolutely ridiculous.
We come from Brian Daboll. He's been fired quite a few times, so I guess he knows the vibe in the room.
Life in the NFL, the not for long. It's not just players, it's coaches too. And you can't blame them after what happened, because again, the coaching in the front office is the reason we lost. I'm still saying that way. Yeah. And you can make complaints about what they did in the week one as well. I mean, I still think the offensive game plan week one, I'm not going to blame on Daboll because of the fact that, Jones played so horrible. It's hard to judge it. But, there's definitely issues. And we had 51 players on the roster last week against the Vikings. 51. It's a 53-man roster, guys. Where's your other two spots? Got to figure out a way to fill them up. To not form a whole team to go against any team is absolutely ridiculous. But the big thing he's getting hit on is obviously the Graham Gano situation. So, again, to recap, Graham Gano injured his groin late in the week. They said he was fully ready to go. He's visibly wincing, according to Dan Duggan, while he's doing the warm-ups and all. And then tries to run down a guy on a kickoff return that was already called back for a penalty, even on top of that, which adds insult to the injury, both literally and figuratively. And pulls a hamstring. And when you have a groin issue, you do tend to walk a little funky and run a little funky, and that tends to cause issues like that. So, it's not ridiculous to put the two situations together, even though they're two separate injuries, the two lower body injuries, because you're compensating. Why not have the backup kicker? Of course, we go without a kicker. We lose by a field goal. We should have won that game very easily, but alas, we lose. So he's asked about the whole, Graham Gano thing. He said, we thought Graham would be okay. He got hurt chasing down a returner. It was a hamstring. He didn't hurt his groin. He hurt his hamstring. Well, yeah, guys, again, you run and walk funky when you have a groin injury, and it F's other things up, to put it nicely.
Yeah.
I mean, I hurt my back many years ago. My back's never been right ever since, basically, and I still throw it out every so often. You guys, the regulars on the show may have seen on the video portion me kind of wincing a little bit or having to get up because all of a sudden I have leg issues or something like that. It's life for me. I know you love how Charlie horses, but I got it entertains you. But
it's fantastic. So also because you're 6'7" and not like an average height. And when you stand up, everyone gets to see not an average height person.
Need multiple webcams.
Yeah.
But when I hurt my back the very first time, my hip was all out of placement. My knees got all jacked up because they were all out of alignment and everything. That's what happens. One injury makes you compensate and makes other issues happen. And that's what's happened here. So, to me to sit there and say that, absolutely ridiculous to sit there and go, oh, well, it wasn't his groin, it was his hamstring. Like, no, you had a lower body injury. You have him out there running full speed. The conversation should have been had to him. Dude, do your kicks and that's it. Like, we need you for this game. Do your kicks and that's it. Don't run anybody down. I know you're going to want to. It's competitive edge. It's juices flowing. I get it. But we need you to think what's best for the team, and that's what's best for the team.
And now he's going to miss more games.
And you should have the backup kicker.
Yep.
And the backup kicker. That's the very first thing at the very least. You can call it Monday morning quarterbacking by not having that conversation. But the backup kicker, that's absolutely ridiculous not to have, guys. So he went on to say, I'm not a doctor. I mean, anyone could get injured. He was chasing the kickoff. He pulled the hamstring. I'm not making excuses. We thought he was good. All the decisions that are made are mine. And I'll give him credit at least for taking the blame. But, guys, this is the decisions that do put your job in jeopardy. Because he did the same goddamn thing.
A year ago.
Yeah, last year.
Last thing.
You could make the case he made the same goddamn mistake last week with Gunnar Olszewski. Gunnar Olszewski comes in with an injury. He is the returner, obviously, for the Giants. He gets injured in warmups, can't play, and they're trotting out whoever the hell they could, basically, to go ahead and do punt and kickoff returns at that point there for the rest of the game. Because they literally just didn't have a backup option when a guy was injured. And they had 51 of the 53 players dressing that week. And like I said, I'm not going to put that all on Daboll. I put on Daboll and Shane. It's a combination of both I put it on. I think that's fair. I think that's what we got to look at there. And I'm not upset that we brought these guys back a third season. I said point blank that I was happy with Daboll overall. Team never stopped fighting last year. We went to the playoffs the year before. It's hard to make that move. But, guys, this is looking like absolute incompetence at this point.
Yeah.
That's what that's looking like. And, yeah, that's an issue. Shane, I can deal with that. I'm not a Shane guy. I never really have been. But Dark Sage 9117 says, I mostly blame a lot of this on ownership and their unwillingness to spend money or address the issues the Giants have. They're willing to spend money, guys. Let me tell you that point blank. They were still paying until last year for Joe Judge still, weren't they, I think?
I believe so. But they also allocated money, and they've tried to, we've talked about this countless time. Like Shane, he's not trying to kick the can down the road. He's trying to clear up money. And he's done a decent job.
Yeah.
At trying not to kick the can down the road. There's, in hindsight, there's some moves that he made that we could look at and
quarterback
say, was it the right move? When he made the move, let's be real, Giants fans. At least 3/4 of us said this is the right move to do.
Oh yeah, and I'm not even saying the contract. Again, I'm saying the lack of any kind of,
but
test for him. Anybody has to actually win the job.
Well, yeah,
against.
That's down. But I mean, you look down the road. We didn't sign Barkley, who's who is a stud. We all knew he's a stud when he can stay healthy, but he's not going to overpay a running back in this league where it's not a running back league. It's a throw down the field league. Let's fix a problem that every Giants fan has talked about for a decade.
Yep.
Not since Barkley's been here. A decade. Twice as long as Barkley. Let's fix this offensive line. And let's make an A minus. Let's make a B plus or B running back look like he could be an A minus. Like, let's be real. Like, Barkley had to overachieve to look as good as he did as a Giant. And that's because he's that kind of talent, if you will. Yeah, but
so, I don't think Barkley was a money thing either, though. Again, Barkley didn't want to play.
Yeah, we say that as well, but like also at the same time, like if we turn around and said, "Hey, here's $14 or $15 million for the next 2 years, guaranteed each year,"
but that's probably would have said. But that's the front office. So the question here was: see, the listener was saying, "I blame a lot of this on ownership and unwillingness to spend money." I'm not, like I said, I can't think of a situation right now the ownership's not spending money on. I mean, if you want to go ahead and attack them for not getting rid of Shane and Daboll this offseason, that's one thing. But coming off of that kind of season with all the injuries, with Daboll not losing the locker room, with him being the coach of the year prior, getting into the playoffs, I can't blame them on that. I can't think of one move that ownership specifically should have made and didn't make. And listen, there's plenty of issues at ownership. I'm not trying to be the mayor of butt kisser over here. But I don't see it there. Now, if this continues to spiral like it started to, and I'm hoping it's not. Listen, it's 0-2. This season's not over. You got 15 more games to go. I'm not trying to, be doom and gloom to that extent right now. But if this continues to spiral and the Giants don't make a move, then I can say that about ownership. That's when you can say that about ownership. Right now, I think it's too early to say that kind of thing about ownership there. But Daboll's worried about his job. That's pretty obvious here. Like, don't give that kind of desk there if you're not worried about someone putting it out there and putting that option out there. And I think that's what's going on. I really do. I think he's worried about that. But for him to sit there and stare someone down for asking that question after you've done roster mismanagement for the first 2 weeks of the year, after you're 0-2 was supposed to be your easy start to the season. Guys, we talked about it. Who didn't have them 2-0 to start the season? The Vikings weren't a great team, we thought. They have the backup quarterback. And now, granted, they beat the 49ers. We'll get into the games later on, but they did beat the 49ers, so maybe we all underestimated the Vikings. But it wasn't like they played lights out against us like there was this amazing team that was unbeatable. The Commanders game here, we should have beaten them too. I mean, it's just at some point you can sit there and blame the coaching on it, and you can blame the front office for some of the players and personnel decisions at that point. Like, it's a legitimate thing to do. So for him to sit there and give a death stare over that, it's just childish. Man's just doing his job. And again, I hate that I'm the one having to like stick up for Pat Leonard, even though I do think he gets much more hate than he deserves. But it's like, what do you want him to do? He's going to ask the question. He's doing his job. That's a legit question.
Yeah.
You started 0-2. You looked like as a unit horrible last year. And no one's going to ask that question. Of course they're going to ask that question. That's a legitimate question, especially when you, the coach, along with the front office, made decisions that literally affected this game negatively.
Yeah.
It's a legit question. So he needs to get over himself. I feel like all the coaches and assistants you heard about, this offseason talking trash about Daboll. And, we backed Daboll all throughout the offseason, so I'm not going to try to say otherwise. We backed it 100%. Third season, got to give him a third season, got to give him a chance at that point. But, guys, I felt like that right there we saw. That was the Daboll the coaches are complaining about. Like, he's going to bully someone to not ask a question like that again. Like, that's a legitimate question. You're 0-2. You looked horrible in both games. Like the one you had no shot in basically from start to finish. And the other one, you literally kept giving it away from mistakes because you couldn't make their offense punt one time with a bad offense with a rookie quarterback. And you couldn't get a kick because you decided to not have a backup kicker when your kicker was injured. That's on the coaching staff. Point blank.
Yeah.
So let's talk some more about Graham Gano, though. Because we got to talk about the injury now. We got the prognosis. We got the diagnosis, all the osises. And it's not good, guys. So this was Daboll talking about him to reporters on Monday. Hopefully he didn't yell at anybody during that process or stare them down or anything for asking ridiculous questions like a punk.
We could be full.
He said he has a hamstring, so we'll see where he's at. And I would assume it's going to be a few weeks here. We'll work guys out and get Jude, who's Jude. I always mispronounce his last name. McAtamney. The guy from Rutgers. The kid from Rutgers we got. McAtamney.
Mick Ruckers.
Yeah, Mick Ruckers. There we go.
Mick Brunswick.
There we go. But he said has been with us, so we'll make a decision off the workout based on what they do in the workout, and then Jude. So basically, they're gonna work this kid out. Let's say Jude because it's easier. I can say that name. I don't know why I can never say it. And I always get the difficult ones usually. I usually get him. It's annoying me that I can't say his last name. But Jude is going to get the chance to work out after the other guys they bring in work out and then see what's going on. I mean, I'm sure they'll bring in the usual suspects. Maybe Mason Crosby comes back again. Who knows? But, guys, it's a loss. Besides the issues with what happened and how it went down, it's a loss. Graham Gano has been a great kicker in this league. And Rob, am I wrong? But did two certain giant goofballs mention the fact that this should be a concern this year because he's 38 years old and coming off a major injury? I wonder if two giant goofballs said anything about that. Oh yes.
Oh, like we said something like 11 months ago.
Yes.
Something just happened. Oh, geez, 10 and a half months ago. Oh God.
This is like we talked about this all off season. Like everybody just assumed that Gano is going to come back, be healthy, and be their old Gano. And we said he's going to be the old Gano. Like he's older. Like you don't come back from major injuries. Like it's nothing. Trust me, I'm old. I know these things. Like that's what happens. And now he's got another injury, and now there's no backup plan. Now we already lost the game because of it. Now we're going to bring in scrubs off the streets, to go ahead and see what they got. So it's disappointing. It's disappointing that the only other kicker we had in the entire training camp, guys, by the way, is a guy who literally lost his job as a kicker in Rutgers. We should probably mention that people that aren't aware. This Jude character, whose last name I can never pronounce right. It's still annoying me.
Jude East Brunswick. Oh,
he did not even keep the job at Rutgers, guys. That's how bad his college career was. You want to know the real reason why he's on the roster? Because he's an international player, and you can use him as an exception and get an extra roster spot that way. That's the truth of the matter, guys.
But obviously, we have not utilized that extra roster spot because
no. Well, it's on the practice squad where we have the extra roster spot, but
okay.
It's just the way of having a second kicker without using a roster spot for him. What's the point of having the damn second kicker if we're not going to use him?
Yeah.
That's just stupidity. It's stupado. It just makes no sense. It makes no sense. It makes absolutely no goddamn sense. So yeah, Gano's going to be out for several weeks, guys. I'm hoping it doesn't end up like last year. What did you go to 5 kickers last year? We had so many get hurt. We had one where we signed him. He got hurt the next day. He never even kicked for the Giants. He got hurt the next day at practice. Is that what we're talking about? Is that what we're coming down to, is repeating that process again? All because we rushed a guy out there, had him running down people that were doing kickoffs at that point. It's just, oh my gosh. It's annoying. This is a giant move, guys. This is the moves we've been making the last 12 years, which is why we started the last 10 of 12 0-2. These are bad decisions, guys. You have that conversation up front. You don't let him run. You say, this is just square. You don't move. and you had the backup kicker ready to go.
Yep.
We didn't do any part of the plan. That makes sense. No parts of the plan got done.
Listen, if you failed at half that job, which is either have a backup or have that conversation, you need to be stern about both of those halves.
Yeah.
If you're going to do one of them. Hey, Gano, there's no backup to you. Do not run. You see that guy, you blow at him. He doesn't go down, you don't chase him. Like, that's it. That's all you do. You don't try to run him down.
Yeah. And I'm even trying to see who's even available right now as a kicker. And I can't even figure out a single kicker that makes sense to bring in. I really can't. That's crazy. Like, I'm looking at guys that are still available, and it's like scrub. You know, it's the guys. It's the middle of September. Of course, there's nobody available that's any use.
Yeah.
So we just gotta hope they can do something. But if I'm telling you right now, watch what's gonna happen. Watch like next week. We're gonna be in a scenario. We have to do a long field goal, and we miss it because we have some scrub in at that point, as opposed to Graham Gano because we just didn't let him sit and relax for the 1 week.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like is going to happen because that'd just be our luck. It just would be our luck, guys. So, all right, let's get to a couple comments here before we get into the next topics here. Before I do that, guys, if you could, those of you watching, here, hit that thumbs up, hit the like button there. Helps YouTube really shoot this out to other people as well. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. We are on a quest for 1,000 subscribers. We're on a quest. We're on a journey.
Quest.
All right. John says, I know why we lose. Good from Boomer and Geo. Show us a big jinx. LOL. What? John.
Too much tequila.
Too much rum tonight. Whatever you having. Description says, "What's up, fellas? What's up, man?" Giants 83 says our third down defense has been awful, giving up too many big plays on third and longs. 100%. And what's scary is last week, I should say just yesterday, even feels like days ago, but just yesterday, we're giving up on third and 14, we're giving up 14-yard runs.
Yeah,
it's like they weren't even trying to pass it or throw it down the field. They're just we're just gonna run the ball. We'll be fine.
It's not even Jordan Daniels ran the ball.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels ran the ball pretty decent against, but I guess he didn't get a lot of attempts. I'm not upset by Jaden Daniels and how he ran. I'm more upset about Brian Thomas Jr. That's absolutely freaking ridiculous. Or Brian Robinson Jr., sorry. That's absolutely ridiculous for him to get that kind of yardage against us. This is a guy with no top-end speed whatsoever, a guy who's supposed to be your consistent 3-4 yard guy down the middle, and we made him look like, he was Adrian Peterson.
Oh, that far, but yes, you are right. We made it look way better.
Absolutely goddamn ridiculous. So, all right. Next up, we got to talk about Brian Burns. Brian Burns dropping the F-bomb. Oh, no, look at him there, just dropping the F-bomb. Guys, it's a little shocking to me. This is the guy that we're hearing flipping out and being upset, considering the fact that he's a $30 million player who's, hasn't done much. I know he did technically get a sack yesterday, got called back because of a penalty. But if you look at his stat line and what he's actually produced in the field and just watch the games, he hasn't done much, guys. He's done more like a $15 million player, not a $30 million player. And that's the problem. I'm going to judge him based on that contract. And I'm not judging him because they gave it to him and who else wouldn't sign it. He asked for that contract. He was very blatant in asking for that before the trade. I want $30 million a year. I want $30 million a year. You got it. I want a $30 million a year player now. That's a fair trade. You want $30 million? Fine. I want a $30 million player. I want an edge rusher that the defenses are scared of. They're not scared of Brian Burns the way he's playing right now, guys. They are not scared of him in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying. So, you look here at what he said. He said, when you shoot yourself in the foot, you're effing yourself. We'll say it that way to put it nicely so YouTube doesn't get mad. Like, yeah, they definitely shot themselves in the foot multiple times. He's not wrong there. But it's like, dude, what are you doing? I'm just saying, like, what are you doing?
Not much.
Yeah. He went on to say, when you have someone by the throat, you have to finish them off. I feel our competitive stamina needs to heighten in that aspect. And then talking about the Commanders, he said, hats off to them. They did a great job executing that offensive style. I got to watch the film to see exactly what happened, but just the read option and the RPO. They're able to kind of manipulate the defense in a way where everyone has to do their one job. If someone's out of their gap, they can hit it. So there's a few things to break down in that. If someone's out of their gap, they can hit it. So what you're saying is people are out of their gaps.
Yeah.
That's what he's basically saying. And guys, one of the things I've been concerned about is the fact this is a brand new defense. And we all know how much time the starting defense got in preseason games. Not a ton. I'm wondering if part of this is miscommunication on the defense. I really do. And I don't know if they need to kind of change the defense to make it a little bit back like it used to be, to make it more comfortable for the players involved, or if this is just us as fans need to be patient while they're learning a new defense, because there's a learning curve when that happens. But it's like, if you know they're just doing read option RPOs going into it, you know that's a college system. These guys have all played against it. They've all played against it in college, so it's just very, very frustrating. Like I said, I hate to see the guy being the crybaby as a $30 million player, and 2 games in hasn't. Can you name one play again besides the penalty they called? Like, can you give me one play that you're like,
nope,
that happened because of Brian Burns? Brian Burns did this amazing thing on that play.
Nope.
I can't either.
Can't. Yep.
Can't do it. $30 million, guys. We said it when we traded for him. We overpaid like you would not believe this guy. I loved the trade. I'm okay with what we gave up for him. I don't love the contract. And I don't need him to be the one flipping out and cussing out like that. I need him to one saying, I need to do better. I asked for this contract. I should be a leader of this team, and I haven't been putting in what I need to put into this defense. That's what I want to see. 30 million guys don't get to freaking complain as if the whole entire defense is the problem when you haven't done squat.
100%.
So I think maybe he needs to look in the mirror a little bit there, because you know what? I'm seeing
have that conversation with yourself in the mirror.
Yeah, I'm seeing a little bit of a pattern here. We got a guy who went to Carolina. How'd they do? Now goes to the Giants. How are they doing?
I guess we're going to be right behind them in the draft pick if this keeps up.
We'll find out. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, guys. Let's talk first about the fact that the Giants made history this weekend. Oh, yes. The Giants made NFL history. Oh, yeah. There's Daniel Jones saying he's number 1. So they are the first team in NFL history to score 3 touchdowns, allowed no touchdowns, and lose in regulation. In NFL history.
Yay! Our history is so vague and open to
history
everything.
Again. The good times.
Hey, we're going to Disney. Or we're going to just have the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think when you do that, you don't go to Disney World or Disneyland. You go to Action Park. I think that's
pretty much.
That's probably what it is. Storybook Land, or one of those little rinky-dink little. Not even Dollywood. So, now on the other side of the coin, though, they did get one good record. Malik Neighbors also became the youngest player in NFL history with 10 catches or more, 100 receiving yards or more, and 1 touchdown or more. So keep in mind, kid just turned 21. We talked about he was still 20 during the whole strip club incident, and he's turned 21 since. So he just barely turned 21. Like, That's impressive at that kind of age. We got guys like that are 3 years away from going to the NFL at his age right now. How many times we see people like 23, 24 getting out of the draft at that point? He just turned 21. That's a very, very young man. And
he's like, hey, strippers, TDs, 1,000 yards, 10 catches.
He's single. He's got the money. Go for it, man. If that's what you want to spend your money on, go for it. I ain't judging. Just saying you probably don't have to. You're a celebrity.
It's a different conversation. We'd have to go down that road.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, that's probably doesn't have to. So let's talk about a guy who definitely doesn't pay for it. And we're talking about should the Giants go get Zach Wilson of all people. Zach Wilson. I cannot even believe this is a topic that we're having here, guys. But Melissa Myers of TWSN suggested that if the offense doesn't get going soon, that the Giants should look to trade for Zach Wilson, who admittedly didn't look bad in preseason when the Broncos put him out there. I will say that about him. I will also say that there are plenty of people who have looked good in the preseason that have no right playing in the regular season.
Webb.
I cannot believe that this is even a topic, but Zach Wilson, we've seen enough of him in New York. Like, literally, we saw him in that same building. And he was poop. He was poop. He's not good. I can say,
granted, this would probably be the best offensive line he's played behind, but yeah.
That's not saying
much.
Plus, Neighbors, I'll say this. Neighbors, the way he's playing, is probably better than Garrett Wilson at that point. Probably is the best wide receiver he ever played with. It's a little early to say it 100%, but he's looking like he is. By the way, he's got top 5 in like every single receiving category right now in the NFL. But I don't see this as a sensible move at all. Like I look at, like, when you make this kind of move, you're going to sit there and say, okay, is Zach Wilson better than Daniel Jones? I feel like there could be a debate. There really could be a debate there. But I don't think that it's a legit debate because Daniel Jones has at least looked serviceable at times, whereas Zach Wilson never did. I'm not even sure if Zach Wilson is better than Drew Lock or Tommy DeVito, guys.
Well, it depends on whose mom he's the top of.
He's very serviceable. But I just don't see it. Like, I feel like people think he deserves a second shot potentially in this league, and I get that part of it. Like, you always want to root for the guy to get a second shot and Geno Smith it, so to speak. But it's like he wasn't really going to get a huge shot in the beginning when he first went to the NFL. It wasn't until his pro day that everybody got enamored with him. I'm sorry, you got enamored with him during the Underwear Olympics. That's not when you get enamored with a player. You should be enamored with him going into it.
Well, I mean, if you look at all the players' moms,
you put the mom thing, just go on. He's the MVP of the Cougar Club, that's for sure. We know that.
Yeah,
we know that one there. Yeah, he's probably well known in Buenos Aires and Red Bank. We know this. But I'm just saying, like, I just don't see it. I don't see that as a legitimate option that I go, this makes the team better. And all you're going to do is you have to give up something for it. Like, the Broncos aren't going to be like, here's Zach Wilson. Enjoy. Especially the way Bo Nix is playing right now. So, yeah, I'm gonna hard pass on that one because we need all the draft picks we can get because we're probably gonna have to go ahead and potentially move around a little bit in the draft here. So let's see on that there overall. But let's talk about another quarterback that made the news today that people have already been clamoring that the Giants should trade for, despite his shortcomings. And that's Bryce Young, who you wouldn't think a couple of days ago would be ever available. He's going to his second year, first overall pick in the draft. No, he's been benched now today. Officially been benched. And Andy Dalton is the QB1 of the Carolina Panthers going forward, guys. Andy Dalton, Mr. Average. Mr. Mediocrity. He is there. Now, he was benched, guys, before the Bears were even done using the draft picks they got in this trade. That's how bad it is. So, because they still have the Panthers' second-round pick next year, which is going to look like a very nice pick, apparently, the way things are going. He started the season 245 yards with 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and just barely over 50% completion. Like, yeah, it's really
from everything
really
that social media showed me, he's going to be working at Carlos Jr.
Yeah, might be working next to Evan Neal.
Yeah.
So last year, Andy Dalton started 1 game with them. And I remember that game very vividly because remember there was a talk even last year about that. Like, why does this offense look so much better? Andy Dalton against the Seahawks last year, 34 of 58, 361 yards, 2 touchdowns. Bryce Young's never come close to sniffing that. And I'm not sure because he can't quite reach because he's so short or what the deal is, but he's never come close to sniffing that kind of game, guys. So this team absolutely right now has got to be kicking themselves for not taking CJ Stroud with that first overall pick. You're watching what CJ does on a weekly basis over in Houston, and it's like, that could have been us. That's what that moment is for them. Like, that could have been us. And
should have been, could have been, would have been.
It's almost like 2 goofballs might have said something about the fact that Bryce Young would not be good and CJ Stroud would. I wonder. We should make a compilation tape all the things we've been right on. It'd be spectacular.
Right. CJ.
But now this, I know people were saying, okay, Giants podcast, Giants YouTube channel. What are you guys doing? Why are you guys talking about this? This does affect the Giants, guys, in multiple ways. So first off, we face Carolina late in the year, and they're a much better team when Andy Dalton is the quarterback, I think, than Bryce Young. That's the Germany game, by the way. So Guten Tag in that one. Then the second one, we may end up being in competition with them for draft positioning as the season progresses. Yeah. Like, putting Andy Dalton in there actually helps our chances of, having a worse record than them. Like that, and that's, listen, 0-2 again. I don't want to give up the season. I don't want to give up the season, guys. But it's not looking good. And you have to look at that as a serious potential possibility that we're going to be a top 5 draft pick looking for a quarterback.
Well,
it's not crazy.
I'm going to say, just come back at you a little bit. You're a little crazy for saying that extreme because Panthers are probably going to be the number 1 draft pick.
Are they now with Andy Dalton? I hate to say it, but Andy Dalton is an upgrade for them.
It is, but how much of an upgrade is it for him?
That's the Seahawks. Tore him up last year.
All right, so 1 game. 1 game.
The only game we've seen him with that offense.
So 1 game.
Actually, it's not even that offense anymore. It's a new offensive scheme, still technically. So, but it's the only team we've seen him with. The only time we've seen him there. I mean, that's
so
he did more yardage.
So Jordan Allen could do crap last week.
Who?
Jordan Daniel couldn't do anything week 1, but week 2 beats us up. Is he a stud?
Jaden Daniels?
Like,
wait, hold on. You're comparing Jaden Daniels and Bryce Young now?
No. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying your comparison. You saw 1 game, and you're taking that 1 game as what he did for the year.
No, I'm not. What I'm saying is I'm taking the only action we've seen him in, and I'm making an opinion based on that and saying that he's better than Bryce Young.
There's plenty more tape on Dalton elsewhere.
Plenty more. And he still looks better than Bryce Young in every single one of those pieces of tape.
I mean, you're not wrong.
I don't know about this age. That's the concern.
But the rest of the team.
Does the rest of the team look better? With Andy Dalton as opposed to Bryce Young? Hell's yes. Yeah. Bryce Young is not good. He was a bad pick. We called it.
So does Bryce Young affect the defense?
Does he what?
Does he affect the defense, especially teams?
Yes, because if you actually have drives going at that point, the defense is better rested.
I mean, you're not wrong to say that, but does the play?
I know not. That's why I said it.
But the play in the first half that looks terrible, does that look better in the first half next week because Andy Dalton's playing, not Bryce Young?
Oh, listen, I'm not suggesting that the Panthers become a playoff
team. So I hear what
you're
saying. I hear what you're saying. No, I hear what you're saying because you're saying everyone looks better right away. So Andy Dalton takes over. That defense is going to be uptick, 10 swing.
Yes, because they're not going to be in the field as often.
Yeah, before they even step on the field, they're going to be better because they're not going to have to be in the field as often.
Yes,
that's just not how it works. That's not how it works.
If you are on the field less often, You can't score as many points. You can't do as much damage. Ask the Giants last week because they couldn't get on the damn field with their offense.
You're right, but that doesn't affect you.
Right? I'm right, and you disagree with me at the same time. You have to pick a side, Rob. Come on for the
no. Because what you're doing is you're just nitpicking one side of the coin. I'm saying
I'm not. What I'm saying is having the better quarterback and improving the most important position on your roster helps your team all around. Every single asset.
I said when your defense walks on the field,
yes,
do they automatically look better? They
do
not automatically look better
because they're not having to spend 3/4 of the game on the field because they have an offense that actually can go ahead and sustain a drive.
Okay, but
that's
what
going to help the defense because they're more confident. Because we're not trying to make this into the Daniel Jones part of the conversation, but same we talked about with Jones. When you have a quarterback that is inept out there, and you have a quarterback that people have some faith in on the bench, regardless of how much faith they have, but some faith, they have better faith than Young. You don't think that it kind of peps you up a little bit? You feel like you have a chance now because they finally made that move?
So okay, let's put this in another put it light. So you have this young quarterback that could be one of the best draft picks out there. It's year 2, week 1. You don't think that defense is going to go out there and play for him? You think it's just going to look like poop right away?
Let me ask you this.
That's what I'm saying. You're saying right away Dalton in week 3 is going to look better than Bryce Young did 2 weeks ago. And it's going to change what the defense has played.
Yes, because they're going to
week 3
excited about playing alongside Dalton compared to Young. They're going to be better rested.
I hear what you're saying. You might be right for week 1, but poop is still poop, and no matter how much you accept the poop, it's still going to be poop down the road.
It's a better poop. It's a more solid poop.
Listen, we know our poop looks better than the Panthers poop. So hush your poop mouth.
Well, anyway, the whole point I'm getting to, though, is that it could help us in draft status potentially. It could. So
it could, but I think you're wrong.
But you also have people out there suggesting the Giants should trade for Bryce Young, which to me is just crazy. And Marshall Green of Giants Now by Chat Sports, obviously friend of the show, so I don't mean any disrespect when I say this, made a crazy suggestion on the show. I'm going to say point blank crazy. He suggested that Joe Shane calls up Dan Morgan. Obviously, they're good buddies with, made several, conversations, and we've got a couple Panthers on this roster now. He suggested he call up Dan Morgan and say, you made a mistake, I made a mistake. How about we trade Evan Neal for Bryce Young? I don't think there's a shot in hell that move gets made, because I don't think the Giants really have interest in Bryce Young, but I don't think that the Panthers would have a reasonable, amount of interest in making that kind of move. I think this is more like you sit him down for a little bit, you work on him, you try to put him back out there later on kind of thing, though it's very difficult to do once you take the job away from him. But I think that's more the move. But yeah, he's saying call up and get this trade done. I'm like, what do you give up Evan Neal and you have to give up some kind of pick at that point? I don't see it.
No.
Unless you think that Bryce Young is the answer, we cannot be giving up draft picks, guys. We can't be. Our main goal right now has to be to get better this season and be prepared for if that doesn't happen, especially on offense in the quarterback play, to go out and be prepared to go get the best quarterback we can in this draft.
Agreed.
We're not prepared if we start trading away picks for a quarterback that's shown us nothing now in 19 weeks. 19 weeks, guys. He didn't make it 20 weeks to start of this league. That's really bad. That is really bad. So yeah, I'm good. I'm not interested at all in that. So, all right, let's get into paying the bills here. Then we're going to get back to week 2 action, give you guys all the rundown of all the games there. Let's pay the bills.
Enjoying the show? Looking for more goofball action? Consider a membership at buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs. Memberships start at just $5 and give you additional goofball access. One-time support payments also available starting at just $3. buymeacoffee.com/2giantgoofballs.
All righty, guys. So let's get into the rest of the comments here. Before I do that, don't forget also that it's not just the buy me a coffee anymore you can do. It's also you can send super chats via YouTube. You can also do stars through Facebook and all there. So if you want to support the show, we're not demanding it by any way, shape, or all we really do ask, give us a thumbs up, give us a like and a share at that point there. That's the biggest thing there. But like I said, if you want to support the show, there is an button there. You lost Rob. That's how upset Rob is. He wants more thumbs up. Let's get into those comments there, though. So first up, let's see where we left off there. John says they guarantee me $3 million a year. I'll drill those kicks through the goalpost. I got this. I like the faith you have there. I like the faith you got there, John. Let's see. Robert says, "Are you blaming first game loss on Daboll?" No, I'm really not, and I'm not saying Daboll did a great job. Again, the roster mismanagement is there. I'm looking at the first loss more, to be honest, is an issue with Daniel Jones. He just had a really horrendous game. Absolutely horrendous. The game that you should never have your 6th year in this league. Shouldn't be that way. Shouldn't. So I'm looking at the fact that even I know a lot of people had issues with the offensive game plan week 1. I'm looking at perspective of I can't blame offensive game plan when you have a quarterback that's just playing absolutely inept. That's not to say Daboll did a great job. I'm just saying he's not the leading cause of the loss. Same as the defense did not a great job week 2, but I'm blaming the coaching staff and the front office more than anybody else on that loss because we flat out didn't have a kicker because we just did stupid things like we keep doing. See, John says he's too smart. He wasn't throwing big bills to strippers, small bills. LOL, talking about neighbors here at the strip club. John says, give our number 1 pick and Jones to the Falcons and get Michael Penix Jr. Falcons aren't making that move. They are absolutely not making that move. I would love to get Michael Penix Jr. You guys, you know how much I am a huge fan of Michael Penix Jr. But you got to look at the fact that Cousins hasn't looked good so far this year. Didn't look good at all in that first week. As we're recording this and I'm looking live at what's going on here for the Monday Night Football game, Cousins is 9-15 for 95 yards in the third quarter. It's like a third of the way into the third quarter, guys. Don't think that Cousins is safe this year. Because the nice thing about having a cheap quarterback in the back, backup position there, Cousins doesn't look good. They can find a reason to sit him. They can put Penix out there. So, as much as I would love, we're not getting them. And then he says, hell, give a first and 3+ Jones. Yeah, no, it's still not happening. I'm telling you, you'd have to blow them away with like 2 first-round picks. That's what you have to do to get Michael Penix if you really want him that bad. And I'm just not sure they're going to do that. I'm sure if I don't want to do that for multiple first-round picks. There's a risk there that doesn't tend to work out. Look at the Panthers. John says, got a different room, Roberto. Well, he's not here right now because he's having some issues right now, but he got a whole new house. So John said, girls, calm down, have a chocolate. Listen, I would love some chocolates. I would love some chocolates right now. I actually have a thing in my pantry right now, some salted caramel covered in chocolate with bourbon flavor. I should probably have some of those when we're done. Use real bourbon, the way the Giants been playing lately, but that sounds good right now. Omega Supreme says, sorry I didn't get a notification, just getting here. Yeah, we always say, I know John, who's had the comment right before you there, talks about all the time, for whatever reason, YouTube is not the best at sending notifications. So, yeah, we do go live every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to give everybody the times. And, of course, we do our post-game show as well. And we might do another pre-game show like we did this week as well. So, Omega also says, I live in South Jersey, and it's a Giants fan hell. More Eagles fans than Giants fans. Yeah, Rob and I grew up in Monmouth County, so we're not far from that border, so to speak, there. We're on the more eastern side of Monmouth. I know the western side of Monmouth County, you go out to like Marlborough, Manalapan, those kind of areas there, that happens as well. So, yeah, I get it. Nice thing is, just Eagles fans give you crap. Just tell them we're still up 4-1 in the most important stat. That's all that matters in the end. You can beat us how many times you want. You can go to the playoffs how many times you want. You ain't gotten the rings. It don't mean a thing. That's what it boils down to. So, all right. Let's give a quick breakdown here of all the week 2 NFL games here, guys. So, week 2. So, was an interesting week overall. We had a lot of surprises going on there. I'll give you guys how Rob and I did with our picks at the very end, because I know Rob's having some technical difficulties here. I want to see if he gets back on here, so we can do that part together here. But let's run down the games in the meantime there. So I'll start off, of course, Thursday night with the Bills and the Dolphins there. As Rob is coming back, he heard us. He heard me talking trash about him. Here he's back.
You son of a gun.
The comment section, that nasty things I said about Rob. So, all right, let's do the breakdown here of the games here. And Rob, since you're back, we'll do it round robin style here. So I'll start off here. Dolphins, like I said, Thursday night football. Dolphins won. The Bills won 31-10. The Bills literally controlled the game all throughout. But of course, the big story is Tua had yet another concussion, and this is definitely a restart of the conversation of whether or not it's safe for him even to play football going forward.
Yeah, that's
Listen, that's a personal decision. We can't make that call for him.
No, I mean,
life.
Yeah, I mean,
it really. I look at it as like, it's hard in that moment. I get it. Like when you're young and stupid, which I'm sorry, I know people want to hear this, but all these guys are young and stupid. He's what, 26 Tua? I think.
Probably, yeah. Listen,
so
I made some terrible decisions.
Yeah,
in my mid to late 20s, and this guy's going to be
multi-million-dollar. Bad decisions still.
Yeah,
I'm making bad decisions in my early 40s.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, I mean, you look at Tua, like this guy is, he's a stud. He's a star. Like he's a top tier quarter. Oh,
shine bright like a diamond.
He's an above average quarterback. So like
he's an above average quarterback with amazing receivers that make him look better.
Yeah. So like, I'm saying, like, so he's got a spotlight. Like he's not like a guy that's going to work, that's running, a 9-to-5 job somewhere that's Monday through Friday. Like he's not my Dane. Like he's not like me going to work tomorrow. Like, I have to be up early. Like, this guy is, he's creating a name for himself. So like I get, especially at his age, the want for it. But also like at his age too, like I was also offered, I don't know if I ever told you, I was offered the ability to bounce for the Jersey Shore.
Yeah.
But I also declined it because I knew what their MTV was going to pay me was $5,000 for 12 weeks. And I went, you're out of your effing mind.
Plus, you would have had syphilis by the 3rd episode.
Yeah, well, also would probably been more kids. I probably would have like, oh, you want to beat up him? This dude's like an asshole. Whatever. Go for it.
Yeah,
he deserves it.
It's a personal decision. It's all to his decision. He needs to make the best decision for him and his family, with his family, and with all the medical staff possible to give him the best possible medical advice at that point. But even if the doctors say, listen, if you keep playing, you're going to be a vegetable, it's his call. It's his life. It's his life. I'll tell you right now, the NFL wants nothing to do with it, though. The NFL wants nothing to do with that. It's a bad image. So
if he wants to break his face, he wants to break his face. That's it.
Let's get to the next one here, Rob. Which one do you got next?
Oh, jeez.
Do you not have the notes up?
I just had to pull up the notes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. So we're talking about the Raiders and Ravens.
No.
All right, Drew, you need to take it away because I don't have the right notes.
Get the notes up, and I'll go. 49ers next against the Vikings. Vikings win 23-17. 49ers, again, were without McCaffrey, and the Vikings are suddenly a very surprising 2-0 here. Then we got the Seahawks with the Patriots there. Went to overtime. Went to a little extra quarter here. Seahawks win 23-20. And the Patriots, keep on, they beat the Bengals now week 1. They take the Seahawks now to overtime in week 2. So it begs the question, even at 1-1, is this team much better than we thought? Yeah, their defense is definitely holding their own. They definitely don't have a quarterback really yet. We'll see what happens long term with Drake May and all. But team to watch out for, that's for damn sure. Then, of course, we got the Giants and the Commanders. So Commanders win 21-18. Obviously just kick away from the Giants winning, but we just didn't have a kicker. So yeah. Chargers go into Carolina and put a whooping on the Panthers there, 26-3, and they beat them so bad they literally benched Bryce Young afterwards. So yeah. That's a sign of a pure dominance there. So what a difference though a year makes with coaching for the Chargers. We talked about the last couple of years, the Chargers underperforming, and again, same with the Giants being 0-2. They're still just 2-0. There's still 15 more weeks to go, guys. But this is a different Chargers team than what it's been. They're playing smart football. They're playing gritty football. They're playing hardball football.
Oh,
What?
Joe, I'm just looking into the camera because I want to see your eyes.
What?
When I said hardball, it's going to change that football team around. You look at me like I was an ass butt face.
No.
You're like, oh, that's the wrong hardball. I should be hanging up a statue around this guy.
Oh, no. He's going to win in the short term, and then he's going to piss them all off, and he's going to lose their locker room.
I never said that part. I just said he's going to win. And he's going to win for this team.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's what's going to happen. Like they're going to look really good for a while, and then he's going to piss them off. They're going to stop listening. That's what happens. So
yeah.
Next up, I think the surprising spanking of the week here. Saints 44, Cowboys 19. And the question is now, are the New Orleans Saints a legit team? That's 2 spankings back to back, and the first one didn't get much credit because it's the Panthers. You got to give them some credit for spanking the Cowboys.
Yeah. So I'm not 100% sold on this team. They definitely made an improvement off of last year. So, 1, you go in, you beat up on your divisional rival, who's the worst team in the NFL. Yes. Okay. That's a freebie. Like, oh, you beat up on the worst team in the NFL. It's a division rival. Like, you kind of should play them close to here and there. But, like, you go to the Cowboys. And what did the Cowboys have done last year, right? 12-5. 12-5 is a big thing. Every time they put a spanking on a team, they put up a dud the following week. And they went in there, they put a spanking on the Browns, and they turn around, and guess what? Derek Carr was, I guess, maybe fearful for his job, possibly.
Fearful for his career, potentially.
Yeah, potentially. Like, and he's now looking like Drew Brees down there and not Derek Carr of the Las Vegas Raiders. So, like, you have to kind of, like, put that into context. Like, yes, you have to think about, like, is this a potential, like, opportunity? But there's also week 2. Like, is this team really that team that's progressed that much? Or is this a team that it's just rolling in the right opportune moments and taking advantage of it? Because you can't take that away from them. Like I mean, any given Sunday, right? So
yeah, and like I said, they're doing it, and it's just a matter of how long they do it. I mean, into this season, we said not much changed. The roster's almost the same. You know, Dennis Allen's on the hot seat as a head coach there, and they're getting it done. They're getting it done so far. We'll see if it continues. That's for sure. But only time will tell on that. Next up, we got the Colts went to Green Bay, and we're the favorites because obviously Jordan Love's out. Packers are expected not to do much on offense.
I have to talk about this game because Malik Willis has been a turd sandwich down in Tennessee for his whole career. He goes over there and looks like a stud, and every Green Bay fan out there, because I am dating one, wants to talk about how great he looked and have to remind him how bad Malik Willis looked.
Hold on. How great he looked? How many passing yards did he have?
Listen, he was throwing the ball when it needs to be thrown. He was leading that team.
12 of 14. I'll give you that. 12 of 14. I'll give you that. 122 yards, guys.
Listen,
I'm not going to give kudos to a guy at 122 yards. I'm sorry.
We did it to Dan Jones 2 years ago. And the guy also led the offense.
He had at least 200.
To win. Yeah, for 2 games in that year. Like, come on. Like,
I'm just saying, he has one game, 122 yards. You're like, oh, he's resurrected his career in Green Bay.
Oh, I'm not saying it. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying I'm dating Green Bay fan. I have to listen to it.
I hear you. I hear you. You made this decision.
I did.
So listen, it is what it is. Like I said, good job by them. Packers do win 16-10, and I give a lot of credit to the team for figuring a way to get it done. Defense played very good, obviously, but yeah, I mean, I'm not going to give Malik Willis this like, oh, maybe Malik Willis isn't that bad. He did 120 yards passing.
Yeah,
I'm not going to.
I'm going to put that
he was
out there.
A backup that came in and played okay.
He played subpar to a backup, but what he did was
efficient game manager football.
Yes, exactly. And like you said, defense led the team to win the ball game, even though they let JT run the ball all over the field, which I'm okay with because he's also on my fantasy team.
Listen, in the end, it's like the great Dennis Rodman said while talking to Jean-Claude Van Damme. Offense gets the glory, but defense wins the game. That's the truth. Next up, we got the Browns and the Jaguars. Browns won 18-13, so the Browns defense got back on track there just in time for us to face them next week. That should be an interesting matchup there because really good defense, really bad offense, guys. The Jets 24, Titans 17. What was a much closer game than I expected, guys. Listen, Aaron Rodgers got his first win as a Jet, and all was well in Jets land because of that. But he's still averaging just over 170 passing yards in a game. Now that's a Daniel Jones. That's a Daniel Jones. Like, I'm sorry, you're 2 weeks in and you're averaging 170 yards a game. You get a pass for one game. You get 2 games. We're not saying like, okay, what the hell's going on here? But if he doesn't do something next week, you got to start asking the question: is this because he's a 41-year-old quarterback coming off a major injury, and maybe he's at this point a more cerebral quarterback than a guy who can chuck the ball over the field?
And you're not wrong for that. I'm just also the guy that's like, give him September. So you say 3 weeks, I say 4 weeks.
I'm not saying bench him. I'm just saying he does.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
I'm just questioning if he's still Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah,
if he's like,
my thing is like, all right, give him 4 weeks, give him September, like give him quarter of the season to the point. Then like once October comes around, and especially you guys out there, once we get to the bottom part of the program, we'll have a better footing on there because you will understand the traits that is going on with the teams and how they are playing.
Yeah, I'm just not buying it when you got, like I said, that little bit of, that little bit of production. I get it more with the Niners. That's a very good defense there, but the Titans. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's a stellar defense you played there.
I mean, I'm not going to say stellar, but don't. They're going to be a way better defense than they were last year. Are they going to be? I'm not going to say dead.
You started. I know you wanted to say it. You started it.
No, I'm saying don't be surprised when the Titans defense is. They're probably not going to break top 10, but they're going to be like right there on the cusp of 10.
So average.
above average. That's what 10 means in 32. If you're around
no,
10,
you said not top 10, not top 10,
but around there,
20,
but around there is what I said.
so right in the
Don't
average.
you take the words out of my mouth
When
halfway
you're
through.
between 10 and 20, you're an average defense.
No, but when you're not quite top 10, but you're right there on the cusp.
So 12 or 13, is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I'm saying at all.
You're saying right outside the top 10. Make up your mind, good sir.
No, if you're not quite top 10,
okay, not quite arguments, top 10. Not quite top 10.
Which means there's arguments who could be better, who could be worse, which means you might
means
be able to break in.
Saying you're not quite top 10 means you're outside of the top 10. Right, that's what that means.
Then we have a different understanding of
no. That's literally works. What it means. You're outside of the top 10 if you're not quite top 10.
Average top 10. Average fluctuates.
There's no average top 10. You're either top 10 or not. Now you're just talking ridiculousness. You've been drinking with John, haven't you? Let's get on to the next one here. Buccaneers beat up on the Lions 20-16. I should say they beat up. It's a close game. But listen, that's a good win for them, guys. That's a really good win for them. We got a lot of Bucs there.
Revenge game.
Yeah, happy to see them doing good things there. Especially after everybody thinking they just go to poop once Tom Brady retired. But we'll see Baker's found himself a little home here. So
I have to admit, Drew, I want to say 13 months ago, you were right. You talked about how good Baker might be down there, and I was like, he's going to be good for about 4 to 6 weeks.
Nope. Listen, that man took the Browns to the playoffs and won a freaking game.
Oh,
that's the equivalent of football, of walking on water and breaking bread and giving people tons of wine and all the other things. Like, he is a football Jesus at that point. The man won a playoff game in Cleveland.
He's also the only guy that has done it out there. Anyway, but
like, that's like winning a Super Bowl.
No, he's got some multiple. He's also went to different teams. He's done well, and he's done well for the first 6 weeks of multiple teams. And he's fallen off the wagon. And
the only place you look at bad is Carolina. And look what's happening in Carolina right now. I can't blame Baker for what's going on there.
You have to take that out of his career, of his stat. You can't. Obviously, you can't. But when you look at him as how he's played as a quarterback, and Bryce Young, he may go to the Saints. He may go to I'm just saying Saints because they had a 5'10" quarterback over there that did very well. But
he can get concussed there as well.
Yeah.
Bad offensive line, 170-pound quarterback. What could happen?
Yeah, he might have a good career.
I've said it all along. He's not a great quarterback. I'm not trying to say Baker is that. I feel like somebody's going to take this as me saying that. He's an average quarterback. And sometimes you get the right defense and you get a couple weapons around him and you can go ahead and do something special with an average quarterback. So, we saw it in Baltimore, obviously, with both with Flacco and with Trent Dilfer. We saw it in Tampa, of all places. We're talking about Tampa with Brad Johnson. I'm just saying there's definitely options here. There's definitely a scenario where they can do something and, have some good postseason play there with Baker Mayfield. Let's get another shocker of the week here. The Raiders go into Baltimore and beat the Ravens 26-23.
The Raiders wanted to lose that game. My God.
It makes you wonder, is Antonio Pierce really got this Raiders team rolling? Or is there something wrong in Baltimore? Is they're now 0-2, guys?
I think it'll look column A, it'll look column B. Because listen,
that
Baltimore Ravens team looked great week one. They went against the Super.
They couldn't get better most because Lamar Jackson is still a hybrid player. Until he can actually be a legit pocket passer, they're always going to have issues at times of need.
You're not wrong for saying that.
And I will say this.
But there's also the same time where that conscious decision where he does extends a play out, gets the first down. So you could be on this side of that ball. But like Lamar typically does a great job of figuring out where to go in that scenario.
But
He
not
also
running, yes. But I'm saying he's still a run-first quarterback that has issues when he has to make the big throw and sit in the pocket. And like I said, they don't get to where they're at without him. I'm not trying to say he's bad and he's not a good player. But I can't think of one time. And again, I don't pretend to be a Ravens fan, obviously. We're not a Giants podcast. If anybody wants to call my bluff and say, nope, here's the game, go for it. But I can't think of one game where Lamar Jackson had to make a throw to win a game, and here's the throw he made, and he did it. Like I said, he's a great quarterback. I'm not knocking him. Every player has their con. That's his con, is that when you need him to sit in the pocket and make that throw, can you trust him?
The problem is not just that. I mean, if you want to compare him to like the great quarterbacks, because he's a great quarterback of this generation. You want to compare him to great quarterbacks of past generations that haven't won a ring.
You can't, though. That's the problem. You want to compare him, honestly? You got to compare him to Michael Vick, Randall Cunningham. You got to compare him to those kind of guys. Because that's legit.
You could argue he's better than Michael Vick.
And I'm not saying he's not. Listen, I would take him over Michael Vick. I also don't like Michael Vick as the dogfighting thing. But I mean, you know, you're talking about that. But I'm saying to judge him against, because you can't judge him against a pocket passer. It's a different way he plays the game.
But yeah, like I'm saying, you're so harsh to judge against that in a different age of quarterback play that, like, you say, like, you know, you can't compare Dan Marino to today's class of play, but he's also never won a ring as well. Yeah, you can't.
I compare him all the time. But you have to also...
You can, but it's not fair to Dan Marino.
No, I think it is fair. I think it is fair.
It's a different style of play. And then you're bananas. You're bananas. You are bananas.
Quarterbacks.
You are bananas.
Hold on. The fact that you can compare Dan Marino to today's quarterbacks just shows you how good he is for a guy who played 35 years ago and still has stats that compared against guys who play today in a much more offensive-friendly system, in a much more passing-friendly league. That just shows you how good he is. Even your dog agrees.
Yeah, you're not wrong. But at the same time, how many rings does Dan Marino have? And exactly. So, like, you can sit there and say, like, yes, he was a pass-friendly, didn't really let the ball run. He didn't run the ball. Like, you're kind of comparing apples to oranges. So you're talking like Lamar, like, leading your team. Like, can you trust him? Like, people said that about Dan Marino in the 80s.
I just feel like, and I can't comment too much on that part of it there because I was so young, obviously, when Marino played. But I'm just looking at it, like I said, I feel like that's the issue there is you're going to eventually going to need him for something. And I can't trust him to be there for it. So, like I said, I'm not trying to poop on him. Like, he's a really good quarterback. You have to accept that part of it there.
And also, Zay Flowers got to be 26 points on my fantasy team. So.
Let's get the next one here.
I also call to be a great receiver in this league.
We called it. We both called it. We both like Zay Flowers.
Yeah.
We said he was the second best receiver. I think of that actually to Jackson Smith the Jigba, who's been kind of cockblocked a little bit there in Seattle. But we said Jordan Addison would be good as well. We said Quentin Johnston would be horrible with the Chargers. You know, we were pretty consistent with that stuff. Anyway, to the big blowout here. Rams go into Arizona, lose 41-10 to the Cardinals. Absolute blowout there. And guys, Neighbors was not the only rookie to go off this week. Marvin Harrison Jr. had 130 yards and 2 touchdowns on just 4 catches, guys. That's maximizing your opportunities if there ever was one. God damn. Like, this was not like the 10 catch plus day that, you know, Neighbors got to get his totals. That's impressive to get that on 4 catches, guys. That really is. You know, we can imagine what he would have done with 10. Imagine what he would have done with 10 catches.
My God.
Crazy. Ugh. Then you got the battle of the beast there with the Chiefs squeaking out a win at home against the Bengals 26-25. about as close to his matchup as he could possibly have. But yeah, that's what always happens with these guys. And yet somehow the Chiefs squeak in a win again. Then you got the inept offense bowl with the Steelers coming into Denver and winning 13-6, and just somehow Mike Tomlin just keeps finding wins. I think that's
makes
the big
no
story
sense.
there. And the other part of it is that Bo Nix again looked absolutely horrendous. Drew a couple more picks, just did not look good at all. He's about to be Bryce Young. Like I really think that. I'm not going to sit there and do it like right now, but 1 or 2 more games like this, he looks that bad. Like you got to see some improvement to keep putting this guy out there.
Yeah. The problem is who else they have to put out there. Like
I know
it is like Sean Payton went all
Wilson.
in.
Zach Wilson. We talked about him. That's the backup in Denver. He'd be better right now. So I still think that's the better move overall is to get him in there. I'm not a Knicks fan, never have been. He looked good in a college system that set him up to succeed with a lot of, dink and dunks and, short yardage and yak plays at that point there. So he's just not that good. He's not. Yeah. He worked well in that system. He's not a good quarterback overall. And listen, Sean Payton, he gets the credit for supposedly being a quarterback whisperer. Can you name me one quarterback besides Drew Brees that looked good with him as a head coach? And again, that's kind of unfair to a certain degree. He's had for 95% of his career, he's had Drew Brees. But I was saying, people act like this guy is like a quarterback guru, like he built Drew Brees. Drew Brees looked damn good before he got hurt in back then San Diego as a Charger that last year.
San Diego.
Like he had already figured it out. It's not like all of a sudden Drew Brees came in from being absolute poop to that. Drew Brees would have been the best quarterback that year in the free agency if it wasn't for the big injury he was coming back from. Remember, that was the thing with Miami. They went for Dante Culpepper instead. Bet they regretted that decision. But, I mean, Sean Payton hasn't developed a quarterback. He got the credit for Drew Brees. He was already developed. He's never developed a quarterback, guys. I've never been a big fan of Sean Payton as a head coach. I think he's good as an offensive coordinator for the Giants back in the day. But as a head guy, got too big a head is the problem.
He's not that big of a guy. Crazy. He's top heavy. He's a bobblehead.
Last game for you guys here. So that's last night here. The Texans squeak out a win against the Bears, 19-13. And the Bears defense, guys, they're looking pretty good. It's 2 weeks in a row they've done their job. But Caleb Williams not doing his.
Caleb Williams has looked like trash. He
can't miss prospect. Can't miss. Yeah. We called that one too. Caleb Williams, we said it was overrated and would not be good. 23 of 37, so not bad necessarily completion percentage-wise. 174 yards and 2 interceptions. And he's got that completion because he just refused to basically throw the ball down the field. That's what it boils down to. Just refuse to do it. You can't do that. You have to throw the ball down the field in this league, guys. You have to do it. So, listen, this is one of those things where I'm not going to say a couple weeks for him again for Bo Nix. He's the number 1 overall pick. But this can go south for Chicago real quick when a lot of people are already anticipating him being the second coming of Michael Jordan to this town, basically. I don't know why. That's the vibes he gave.
Well, that's also the Chicago fans in general.
It's not. It's the NFL fans, it's the college football fans. Everybody thought this kid was can't miss prospect.
Yeah.
Again, we didn't think that. Other people did. But you're looking at a guy who, didn't look as good as senior year in college. Didn't have the best attitude at times in college. Crying at his mommy's lap.
Cries his mama.
Yeah, I'm good. So, all right. Now, as of right now, give you guys a heads up here. We're in the fourth quarter. The Falcons are up by 5 against the Eagles, 15-10. So we're not going to give you that game yet because we're doing this live. Obviously, we don't wait for the end of the game. We're going to give you guys where we're at for the week, and then we're going to go through a couple questions. So, Meg, I see you there with some questions there. We will definitely go over those in just a second here. So, obviously, we got 16 weeks in this season. 16 games in this week overall in the football world. So anything 8 or more is going to be considered 50%. we've said it before. First couple weeks always a little rough because you're trying to figure out the NFL, especially the first week. But yeah, this week wasn't too much better for us. We definitely did not do the best here. So
I was about to say, I'm going to go hide.
Yeah,
hide for this. Okay.
A lot of upsets. I mean, you got the Lions got upset, the Cowboys got upset, the Ravens got upset, the Colts got upset, the Jags got upset, the Niners got upset. I mean, there's a lot of. It wasn't like we went crazy and just went for every underdog, but there was definitely a lot of upsets this week here. And I think most people probably their boards weren't looking that good, but we're looking at overall wins. So I had 7 for 43.75%. You have 6 right now. We'll see what happens with this game here, but you and I both had the Eagles winning. So as of right now, we're not winning that. That puts us both at 50% or better still for the first 2 weeks at wins and losses. So I'll take that.
Yep.
You have 1 ahead of me right now in that category. In spread picks, I've got 7 spread picks so far. You got 6. You and I both chose the Falcons. So unless something crazy goes, we should get that. That put me back at 50% there for this week. And you would just under. So for the
Most are so good with the spread too. Oh my God.
For year to date for the first 2 weeks, right now I'm at 43.75%. Again, we got one more going on there probably. You're at 34.38% there. Again, one more probably going on. The over-under picks, we're doing better there so far. So I will say we both I had over, you had under at that point for this. So that'll probably, put us even up here for the way things are going at that point, barring any kind of last-minute offensive burst going on there. I have 9 so far. You have 8. Like I said, I expect you to finish up and go back to 8 as well. But as of right now, I'm at 56%. You're at 50%. And we're at, on the year-to-date, 53% for me, 47% for you. And then for our trifecta picks, so that is getting the win-loss, the spread picks, and the over-under at that point. All 3 in the same game. I got 3 this week. You got 2. I'm up 7-2 right now on that category there. So
I'm going to must be joy.
So far this week, I'm up by 4. I'm up by 9 points overall. Like I said, I do expect some changes here because you're going to get the over-under probably, and I'm not. So that'll change it by 1 more. So I'll be up by 8 when that happens, assuming that stays the same. So
pretty sure you started off pretty solid last year.
I did. You crushed me the last couple of weeks, and that's what just changed it. I'm saying it point blank. I'm saying it. All right, let's get to the Omega's questions. He gets some good questions here. So 0-2 gang, Giants, Ravens, Rams, Panthers, Titans, Bengals, and Denver. Who was your biggest surprise, and what team do you see turning it around? Rob, I'll let you go first. I always talk too much.
Jeez, this pick is probably the most crazy is the Ravens. Like, we knew the Ravens were going to come into this league. Are they going to beat the returning Super Bowl champs? Probably not. But to lose in a close game they did, okay, yes. But to lose against the Raiders, especially when they're up, the Raiders. Especially when they're up. And, there was a stat that put out today as well. It's in the past 2-3 years, they've lost, close to 10 games. And, when they were up in halftime to not the best teams out there losing leads. And, the Ravens have been a solid team the past couple of years. So, for that to happen is something crazy. They don't have to go, if we're going to Tito down here, I want to go to the Rams. The Rams, they just not play well this past week. They probably they're gonna have probably 10 wins on the year.
Yeah, that's my 2. I got the same 2.
Yeah, and then some people went over here and some people were talking maybe the Bengals should be 0-2. Listen, the Bengals, since Joe Burrow's been there, has always started off slow. So the fact that he's coming off an injury and they're starting off slow does not bother me. So I want to put that out there. Panthers being 0-2, guess what? We saw the trash size coming out of last year. And what did they do? Absolutely nothing but trade away their picks this year. So obviously we knew they weren't being well. The one that was in the middle that's literally quite frequently like in the middle is the Titans. And I kind of assume they're probably 1-1 at this point, but I'm also not. I'm not surprised. I'm also not disappointed. So it's
yeah. I mean, I look at it as Giants 0-2. We're surprised, but Giants aren't a great team, obviously. Ravens should be a great team, just off to a rough start. Rams injured as all hell. Listen, you get Puka Nacua back, you get Steven Villa back, you get some of his offensive weapons back. At that point, things change up for them. Panthers are poop, we know that. Titans are poop in my eyes. Bengals, like I said, we said this into the game at that point, week 1. I'm expecting a decline this year from Cincinnati. So, but I don't expect them to go 0-17, obviously. So they're going to pick it up. It's just I wouldn't be shocked if that's the team that gets like 9-8. Like, this is not going to be the team.
Yeah, with the backup quarterback.
Really good. I know it's not that. I just think they lost weapons, and people aren't looking at that. They lost their running back. They lost their third receiver. They lost their offensive coordinator. They lost a lot of pieces.
Yeah,
here.
you're not wrong. Let's say that. Yeah, you're not wrong. But they've had a good history of everyone saying that for the past 5 years, and turn around and getting 10+ wins.
We'll see. I mean, like I said, I think you got weapons that are upset, like Jamar Chase, upset about his contract and all that stuff. Things are going on there, that's for sure. And then Denver is Denver. I don't think Denver's that good because they still don't have an offense. So let's see. Omega also asked, Neighbors and Harrison had great games this week. Who will have the better NFL career and who is the better receiver in your guys' opinion? I think that depends on how they develop, and that's that we can't know going forward. If I had to put my money on it, and listen, a Giants podcast, but I try to be honest, the better career would be Harrison. The better peak would be Neighbors. It's kind of like talking to OBJ or Mike Evans. Mike Evans has the better career, but OBJ had the much better peak. And that's what I feel like kind of similar scenario.
We talked about that coming into the draft this past year as well. So we thought, obviously that Harrison Jr. had the higher,
Harrison Jr. had the higher.
He was a safer pick, if you will. But we thought Neighbors had the ceiling too, like shine bright like a diamond.
All right, Omega also says that both teams are on the same trajectory. Who do you think wins the Tank Bowl in Germany in Week 10? First off, how bad is that? That's the game we're going to send over to Germany. Like, that's the worst attack we've had on Germany since World War II. God damn. I went there. But it's like, it's too early to tell, man. Honestly, I'll tell you, the way things are playing right now, we're going to end up in a 0-0 tie after overtime.
Yeah.
Both
backup quarterbacks play and start that game. Oh,
and that's part of the question: is who's going to be the quarterbacks this week? Like that week. I mean, Bryce Young. I said it before. I wouldn't be shocked if they don't try to bring him back at some point as a quarterback, trying to work on some stuff off the sidelines, bring him back in later on. The second that Andy Dalton fails at all, he's going to be right back out again. The Giants. Can you honestly sit there and say DJ will definitely be in Week 10?
It might have to be Week 5.
I just think that's where I'm at there. Yeah. It also says, did we pick the right head coach, Brian Daboll, over Flores? Or if we can turn back time, would you hire Flores over Daboll? And I think, honestly, my answer to that right now is I would pick anybody that's not associated in any way, shape, or form with Bill Belichick. I mean, Tua got stifled in his development big time under Flores. Flores is a good defensive coordinator, and I still think he could be a good head coach in this league. But I think he's got to have the right offensive mind with him, and the right guy to balance him out. That whole good cop, bad cop. He's got too much bad cop. He needs a good cop to go with him. He needs a mama bear kind of guy. You know what I mean? Like, he's that kind of person. Because Tua spoke very bluntly about the fact that Flores was messing with him, and we were all there. We saw it. It's Fitzpatrick. It's Tua. It's Fitzpatrick. It's Tua. Just put Tua in the damn game and let him develop. Like that's where it was at that point. You notice the second they started playing him, granted adding Tyreek Hill didn't hurt. The second they started playing him like that with some good receivers around him and playing him consistently, he got much better. Now he's got the concussion issue, of course, but it is what it is. All righty, guys. That's going to call it a week for us here. So I said a week for us, an episode for us.
It's called back on Wednesday.
We're ending our week 2 coverage. So we're back Wednesday for you guys, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, if you haven't already, hit that like, hit that subscribe button there. I see a lot of people out there also on Twitch land, by the way, today. So appreciate you all coming on.
Twitchiverse.
Yeah, definitely. As Aries Den 84 on Twitch says Drew giving out the big brain analysis and saying catch you later. Thanks, appreciate it, guys. And Omega saying thanks, fellas, for the content. No, honestly, thank you all for listening and watching. Because if you don't, let's be honest, it's just Rob talking to ourselves, and that gets very boring. So we appreciate you all for listening in there and for watching. And, of course, as always, we are live every Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, of course, we're also live right post-game there for you guys as well. So keep an eye out for the schedule because that's going to change a little bit. Because not this week, but next week, we're Thursday Night Football. So things are going to change there for the schedule. So keep an eye out. Oh, yes. So, again, guys, we appreciate you guys watching as always. If you haven't already, hit that like, subscribe. Check us out also on the audio podcast platforms as well. Because we're live on, we're next day available on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon, all the big ones there, guys. And of course, when I was talking about the streaming services, I forgot to mention that we are live on Facebook, YouTube,
LinkedIn page. Oh God!
Yes, there we go. I had to pause because Rob hates when I don't talk about my LinkedIn page that we're also live on as well. So appreciate you guys listening in as always, guys. Listen, we are in the midst of a not so fun season. I get it right now. We're here for you guys. We will suffer through together. Appreciate you guys for listening as always. And as always, Giant fans,
go G-Man!
Go G-Man!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support.
Thanks so much.
Please, I'm begging you. Please subscribe.